All right, welcome everybody. Thank you for coming. This is the first ever ProductTank Exeter.
Woo!
Exactly. So I think just a little bit of context. We obviously, we're going to introduce ourselves in a minute, but we obviously didn't know when we sort of sat down and decided to try this, how many people would turn up, whether anybody would turn up. And so we thought for the first one, we'll just keep it casual, we'll just make it a little networking event, social, get a sense of what people are looking for, and then we'll have sort of more formal speakers going forward. And then when we got to about like 30 or so people who said they were coming, we were like, we should probably play something. So what we're going to do today is just give you a bit of an overview as to what ProductTank is, what we're trying to achieve, the sorts of things you can expect, and just get things started. Okay. So before, I just realised that I should have checked a few of these things. Before we, there we go. Before we get started, kind of the usual housekeeping stuff. Has anybody found the bathrooms yet?
Yeah, they're just out the door to the right, and they're really cold. So.
And there's a fire exit there, so it should be fine. We, as you probably noticed, we are recording this, and we will try and record all of the presentations we have at ProductTank. If you want to ask questions after a presentation, now or in the future, feel free to do so. We won't include those because we don't think it's fair to you to do that in the video. But if you kind of shout out a question in the middle, be aware that it will be recorded. Similarly, Ben here is roving with a camera, so we can get some nice photos for our meetup page and for social media and stuff. So similarly, if you're not comfortable with that, just let us know and we'll make sure you're not included. And we will stick these slides up on the meetup page tomorrow. And where possible, we'll try and encourage speakers to do that too.
It does mean that you should all still turn up. Like, you basically don't need to turn up anymore. So you still come.
If you've not been to a lot of meetups, the networking is the most yeah. So don't shortchange yourself. We have this space until 8. Is that right?
9.
9. Okay. So feel free to hang around as long as you like afterwards. Some of us haven't eaten. And so we'll probably be heading upstairs to get some food at some point. It would be quite helpful to the proprietors of this fine establishment for them to have a rough idea how many people might be hanging around for food. So if you think that's something you might do, can you just like raise your hand and we'll do a quick headcount check. You're not committed. We won't like force you to eat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's about 10 or 15. Okay, all that know. Perfect. All right. So, this is the basic structure. We're going to tell you a little bit about ProductTank, introduce ourselves, as I said, talk about what our goals are and the sorts of things you can hope or expect to get out of these meetups going forward. Okay, so if you haven't heard of ProductTank, we didn't come up with a name. It's not a new idea. It's actually a network of product management related meetups that happen all over the world now in over 150 plus cities worldwide. It started in London back in 2010 and has sort of grown out from there. There are quite a few of these around the UK already, although the nearest one to us until now has been in Bristol. So a bit of a trek, especially if you're coming from further southwest. We kind of felt like maybe the time had come to start something here, that maybe we'd reached the point of critical mass where we could do that. Another organisation that you'll hear mentioned a lot that's related to ProductTank is called Mind the Product. And Mind the Product is actually a business now. It started out as kind of just a kind of non-profit collaborative thing, but it's now a business. And they essentially help people like us organise meetups like this. None of the organisers work for them. We're not paid. We're not commissioned. But they do provide us with a lot of help, and they sort of manage the brand. And so you'll probably see that we mention a few of the kind of other services they provide, just because they're doing a lot of work to try and build and support the product management community in this country and overseas. Okay. So we're just going to go and introduce ourselves one at a time. As I said, these slides will be available later, so you don't have to note all this down. But these are the 4 of us who put this event together. And we'll just each got a slide to talk about ourselves, and then I'll hand off. So my name's Tor. It really is. It's not sort of pronounced the way they do in the movies, but that's because they pronounce it wrong. I moved to Exeter about almost 4 years ago now, back in early 2015, and currently live in Sidmouth, which is lovely. And I moved here to join a company some of you may have heard of called Crowdcube. They're an equity crowdfunding startup based here in Exeter. And I joined essentially to sort of head up their product team and build the team out. It was a bit of a shift in gears. Before I was with Crowdcube, my wife and I were living abroad. We were in Sydney for a while, and then we were in the US for a while because we were working at Google. So I worked at Google in London, in Australia, and in the US, and moved from San Francisco to Sidmouth, which you can imagine is an interesting transition. More relaxed pace of life, it's fair to say. I'm not actually with Crowdcube anymore. I left Crowdcube about 6 months ago. I'm just decided to take a bit of a break, so I'm kicking back, which is lovely. Random personal fact, I like Pantone mugs and have a collection. I have lots. My wife is very, very patient. And that's me. I will hand over to Kat.
Great, thanks very much.
It should. It's the right hand side.
There's only one slide.
So
Okay, so I'm Katrina, full-time overthinker, part-time semi-pro mountain biker. Pictures of me thinking mountain biking. And when I'm not working, I'm dreaming about motorbike adventures. I'm probably the newest to product management, really. So I work for a company that does corporate accommodation, and they decided that they wanted to build a tech arm, and that started with an external web development agency. They brought one of them on board, and then I was working sort of as the business analyst to get all the commercial requirements together and put that through. They're very ambitious. They've got sort of 3 platforms they're trying to do. They're trying to do a transactional website, a client portal, and a supplier portal, all with about 3 or 4 people. And so I'm completely new to sort of the techie side, the commercial requirements. So I took a bit of a leap of faith and asked them if I could go freelance for 3 days a week. And in my spare time, I'm trying to get the professional skills to actually be able to support the team for product management. So, spending my time looking at Mind the Product with ProductTank and met Tor, and that's where I thought, if we were talking about something in Exeter would be great. So, helping co-organise this, and also looking for opportunities. So, just self-plug there. And I'm never on Twitter, so please contact me on LinkedIn if you want to have a chat or after today. Oh, and one of those is a fib, so you have to work out whether it's mountain biking.
Cool, I'm Ben Christine. I am on Twitter a bit more. I do enjoy it. My Twitter handle is Benji Boo, and that's been with me for 20 years. Not the Twitter handle, but just the Benji Boo name. So it's stuck with me. I build and design product at a company called Venture Harbor. Venture Harbor is a digital innovation studio, whatever does that mean? But I work remotely for them here in Exeter, and so that means I go up to their office once a month and touch base. Over the last couple of years working with them, I have built up a team that is almost completely remote. We are in Argentina, parts of the US, Portugal, Poland, India, Australia. So we've got teams all over the world, and we love remote. It really works for us as a business, and we are remote first when we start recruiting. So that's really exciting. Is anyone else here remote working? Cool. I've been doing this kind of stuff, web design and all this kind of app stuff, for 12 years or so now. But before all this work and stuff, I am a husband and I'm a dad to a very cheeky 3-year-old, and I absolutely love that, and that's what drives me. And when I do have a few spare minutes, I love to run, and I will be out running for hours if I could. And every year I set myself challenges. So this year I set myself a professional challenge and a personal challenge. And so this year I am writing some blogs for some magazines, online magazines, and also doing a bit of this, speaking. So really push myself out of the comfort zone. I like to do that. But on a personal level, I've got an Ironman lined up for this year. So really excited about that. So that's pretty much me.
Okay, so unlike Ben, I don't like to run. You can tell that quite clearly. So yeah, I just started as a product manager last Monday. Well, I was a product manager before, but at a company called Utility Warehouse, which no one so far has heard of, which is fine. But in a couple of months, you definitely all would have heard of it and you'll all have signed up, right? And we're also hiring. It's a large utilities company that does word of mouth marketing, so that's what no one ever hears about it. But it's a FTSE 250, so it's quite big. And previously I was also at Crowdcube, which was fun, and worked for Tor, which was really fun. And and before that I did some really boring PowerPoint stuff at a finance firm in London, which convinced me I never wanted to do that again. Sorry if anyone here does a lot of PowerPoint. I came to Exeter for university about 10 years ago, and didn't think I would stick around, but I'm still here somehow. I love it. And a bit about me, so I love drumming. Really like good design. Although it's weird at the moment and it is pretty tiresome, I do like politics. I did my degree in politics, so I still read the news far too much and get sad about it far too much. And it says I like football, which after the running thing may seem weird, but I play in goal, so it's like a limited amount. And last but not least, I volunteer with a charity, so while we won't be charging you any money, if you do want to donate stuff, this is our official charity sponsor. I'm just saying that now. And I got married 4 weeks ago, so that's me. If I keep fiddling with this, it's because I'm still getting used to it. Cool.
All right.
So I got the dubious honour of trying to explain this, which is an interesting one. So obviously defer to people that have done the job already. And Martin Eriksson, who runs Mind the Product, as you've already heard a little bit about, starts very abstractly by just saying this. What is product management? Well, it's the intersection between business, technology and the user experience. And he's actually trademarked this little Venn diagram and gets quite shirty about people using it without accreditation or permission. So if you ever do copy this, just make sure to include his name. He'll really like you for that. But pretty broadly, it's about people wearing different hats, right? That's what I take from this, is that product managers and people involved in product management blend a variety of skills and a variety of disciplines to do something that is kind of more than the sum of their parts. The next one, this is from Marty Kagan, who's another very experienced product guy over in Silicon Valley in the US. And he says that product management is this: to discover a product that is valuable, usable and feasible. And when I first read that, I thought, well duh, doesn't everyone do that? And actually it's like one of those things where you say, you've got 3 options, pick 2. Not everyone can actually do all 3. And that's what product managers are supposed to do, is to actually make sense of what their product is, to make sure that it's valuable and useful for the people that use it, that they want to use it, and that it's easy to use, that people don't hate it. And it's so good that actually it's feasible. People will pay you money to use it. And so that's, I think, another angle of this. And just to prove that not everyone who's good at product is called Martin, a quote from Josh Ellman here, who's worked at Facebook, Google, Twitter, all the big companies. And he says that product management is about helping your team and your company ship the right thing. So it's kind of playing on the second quote, sorry. But I think for this one, it kind of highlights that actually product management is a collaborative discipline. Product managers don't just ship stuff on their own. They have to work with engineers, with designers, with support agents, with researchers, all that kind of stuff to get a product out the door. And that's another big thing, is that it's no good building code that just sits online in a repo and doesn't actually see the light of day. It has to actually ship. And that's another crucial thing that product managers do, is they make sure that a product actually sees users and gets feedback. So that's kind of where we're coming from in terms of what we think of as product management. But who practices product management? And obviously, everyone in this room in some shape or form is practicing product managers, and if you're titled as product manager, obviously you do it. But also I've already had conversations with people who are BAs and product owners, often you get, for better or worse, founders and CEOs and people with management in their title or something who like to say what the product should be or do. And again, that kind of highlights that lots of people have opinions about products and want to get involved. But product managers and those people are the ones that ultimately are working day and night to make sure it's successful. And so what does that look like? Well, it often looks like, in a tech organization, people who focus on defining and leading what that product strategy is. Who are we targeting? Why are we targeting them? How does the product meet their needs? And again, works with a variety of people in the business and outside of it to actually pull together all the different streams of work to make a product exist and thrive. And then iterate on it, as the last point says, to manage not just designing it, but actually shipping it and iterating it so it gets better and better and better. Well, that's the goal, anyway. Cool. Who's next?
So it's worth looking at Exeter and what's going on at the moment. And there's some great things going on at the moment. I think lots of you know about Tech Exeter and Digital Exeter, and they both have their focuses. Tech Exeter being coding, DevOps, all the technical side of things, and the Digital Exeter being digital marketing, SEO, content creation, and things of that sort. And we have a good relationship with these guys, and we continue to, and we want to, and they've been supporting us in getting this started. So we want to point out to you that these guys are, these groups are available for you to check out, and they're worth checking out if you don't know them already. And lots of really cool things going on there. But we will be focusing primarily on product design, product delivery, and business strategy. And there is a really nice overlap between these different meetups. And together, I think, if you went to them all, you'd be in a brilliant.
Busy.
Yeah, very busy. So they are happening every month, so worth checking them out. So the kind of topics we'll be talking about at ProductTank are quite vast. They're quite a few there, and this isn't all of them, obviously, but we thought it would be really valuable to put them on here and to give you an idea. So I'll quickly run through them. So there's things like strategy, product vision, and goal setting, planning, things like requirements gathering, road mapping, delivery, so backlog management, agile methodologies, launches, go-to-market strategy, product messaging, analysis then, performance metrics, tracking and analytics, growth, so user acquisition, engagement, growth hacking, things of that sort, communication, effective meetings, conflict resolution, lots of interesting things there. And finally, leadership, so stakeholder management, coaching, recruiting. So there is a ton of things there, and it just means that we're going to have lots of really interesting things going on, lots of really interesting topics to be talking about. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
What are pyrometrics?
It's a great question. What are pyrometrics?
Dave.
So it's an acronym that spells out the word R, which is why it's called pyrometrics, but it's about acquisition, activation, revenue, retention, and referral. So it's kind of how you would hopefully progress a customer through from finding them, getting them plugged into your service, getting them, it's often like for freemium models, getting them to actually start paying you, and keeping them paying you, and getting them to tell other people about you. Pardon?
Kind of Y combination.
Came out of 500 startups.
Oh, and what's the psychological safety as well?
So psychological safety is a concept. I think it really came to the fore. It came out of a study Google did called Project Oxygen, and they looked into the factors that make teams highly effective. And it turns out that the lead factor by far and away is psychological safety. And the notion of psychological safety is that you go into your work environment or you're part of your business, and you feel that it is safe to voice your opinions, to question decisions, to push back on people who are more senior than you. That there is there's a not a culture of blame. There's not a culture of people retribution and so forth. So it's that basic sense of feeling comfortable at work, being yourself, and being honest about what you think.
Any other questions on the topics? No, we're good. Okay, so based on the topics, there's a bit of a plan about sort of future meetups, but we're really keen to get your feedback, so when you're coming to these events that we can base it on kind of one of those topics. So we will be making the slides available at the end of this, so you can have a flick through, and we're also going to send out a survey. So really, really appreciate if you wouldn't mind filling that out, having a look at the topics, and maybe just letting us know. So the next one that you come to, we'll have a really informative talk, and hopefully there'll be some things you can really take away. So roughly what we've got planned is, I don't know how you find it, but I'm signed up to 1 billion meetups, and I get these things sort of come through a week, and I probably make half of them, if that. So we didn't want to overload it, so we're kind of thinking quarterly, so that they're actually really valuable when you go to it and you actually attend them, rather than say you will and can't make it every week or every month. Having said that, there's loads of topics there, so if you did think that you could make one once a month and that'd be really valuable to you, please do let us know in the survey. But at the moment we're thinking April, July and October. We'll be aiming for sort of the third Thursday of every month as your money's running out, and then lots of cheap drinks after, cheaper than Citygate maybe. That's another thing as well with the venue as well. If you want to let us know on location, we're going to try and tailor it to the majority, to where it's most convenient. Each talk will start with networking, and then we'll always try and have the presentation on time as well. So it's up to you, kind of if you come for the full networking or just want to hit for the presentation. It'll be about 20 minutes like today, and then we'll have the Q&A at the end as well. Mind the Product's Code of Conduct. I had a quick look through that. It's kind of just don't be a dick. That's that. So how to get involved. So as I said, we've got the survey that we're going to send out, so really appreciate it if you can fill that out. If you're interested in talking, that would be fabulous. So yeah, please let us know, and if you have anything in particular you'd like to talk about, or if you know someone, please send them our way. And if you don't know about it already, there's a Mind the Product Slack channel, and you can join that in area Exeter. So it's quite an easy way to get involved locally by those 3 ways. And then Tours can talk a bit more about the wider community and how to get involved.
Yeah, so I mentioned so a few other events that are coming up that you might be interested in. So I mentioned Mind the Product early on, and they are most well known for their annual conference in London around September, October time. They get about 1,500 product people together at the Barbican and have some phenomenal speakers. It is kind of pricey. Tickets tend to be around £400, something like that. So definitely one for an expenses request. But keep an eye out for those. They also run them in San Francisco and Singapore now. They started in London. They've started doing these smaller scale conferences. So in addition, there is incidentally, I mentioned there are other product tanks. There's one in London every month. But they run these smaller scale conferences in other locations. There's one coming up in Manchester called MTP Engage in early February. And then the one other thing I wanted to mention, I only just heard about it. I don't have the details yet. They haven't finalised the venue or anything. But you might have heard of Product Camp. Product Camps are unconferences. If you're not familiar with an unconference, the basic idea is that everybody who attends turns up on the day. On the wall there is a grid which covers the slots and the rooms, and it's empty. Anybody who turns up can get a post-it and write down a talk they want to give or a topic they want to discuss and stick it on the wall, and the conference schedule is essentially created by the attendees. And they've been running these in London for a while now. They're a lot of fun, and so we're going to try doing one slightly more locally in Bath in March. Okay, and then just in terms of other kind of resources you might be interested in, that Mind the Product manage, they have a blog which you can also subscribe to as a newsletter, so they'll basically send you a summary of the blog, top blog posts for every week. They have just launched a podcast called The Product Experience. I think the second episode was published yesterday. The first episode was really good because it's me. But that was a coincidence. I didn't see that coming because I recorded it like July or something last year. It took me ages to get it published. But yeah, exactly. Deep regrets on them. But you know, they're covering a different topic every month. We were talking about career progression for product managers. I think this month it's more about sort of stakeholder management and things like that. If you're looking for a new job, they also run a job board which is just product management jobs, which is pretty good. And as I mentioned, they kind of have a central hub for all the different events they're running. They also do training. So if you're looking to get some formal product management training, they will both come on site, and they also have courses they run in London and a couple of other places regularly. I think that is it. So as we mentioned, please do hang around, please do chat. Obviously there's a bar upstairs, and they serve drinks. And then we'll be hanging around doing it as well. But, the networking is, as I say, kind of a central part of this, so please don't mind. Thank you very much.